Hello, friends. Welcome back to How to Grow My Small Business. I have a treat for you today. Andee Hart joins me for a conversation on faith, pricing, selling, and sales, and we've become very fast friends. Andee Hart is an energetic entrepreneur, sales strategist, mentor, and host of the podcast She Sells Differently. While working as a sales executive for a Fortune 500 company, Andee started a passion project, Heart Design Co., a candle making company in her own kitchen. What started out as a side hustle for her candles in a handful of local boutiques quickly blossomed into a wildly successful wholesale business and storefront. Within a year, Andee was able to transition from her corporate career to full-time entrepreneurship due to her tenacity, engaging social media presence, and countercultural strategies that enable her businesses to thrive in competitive markets. Andee's mission is to empower women to overcome sales anxiety and grow their businesses with integrity, grace, and humility. And you will get all of that in our conversation with Andee today. Please give Andee Hart a warm welcome to How to Grow My Small Business. Okay, friends, I have a special guest on for you today, Andee Hart. I'm super excited to have you all listen in on this conversation because Andee and I have a lot of similarities. She also teaches women how to sell. And Andee, would you go ahead and just introduce yourself to my listeners and we'll get going.
Yes. First, Lindsay, thanks for having me. I always love meeting other people with similar backgrounds, and we were both in corporate America, corporate sales, and made the fearless leap into entrepreneurship. And so it has been a fun ride. But I spent 17 years in technology sales for two Fortune 500 companies. And then back in 2023, I made the leap into entrepreneurship. So I own a candle company that I started in my kitchen during the pandemic and started wholesaling to retailers all across North America. And so that has just blossomed into an amazing company that I still run to this day, but don't spend as much time focusing on that because once I left my corporate job, I really dove into taking my sales experience, and what my true passion is helping women entrepreneurs learn how to sell without feeling icky. And so I think that and I know your listeners know this from listening to you, but we're all selling every day. And so I really love to focus on helping other product-based businesses learn how to sell their products and market them in a way that aligns with their values, because especially as women of faith, we are often taught to squelch our products or our services or the gifts that the Lord has given us, right? And so I want to flip that narrative on its head and share the gifts that the Lord has given us and steward them well. And so that is what I do through my coaching business, She Sells Differently.
I love that. And you know that I also preach that we're all in sales. So if you're not
Yes.
going to listen to
Yes.
me, my friends, listen to Andee because Andee's a smart woman. Let's talk about faith in business. Let's start there because you said kind of getting building upon the gifts that God has given you, and it is a challenge to get out there and be a faith-led entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think we were maybe talking about this on my podcast,
Mhm.
and something that is a challenge, especially when you come from corporate America. You're really
Yes.
taught to squelch your faith. You don't talk about it. You're not really allowed to. You may talk about it with your peers, but it's just not something that you're really forthcoming about. And so really, I would say for the first year and a half of being an entrepreneur, I really led with strategy because that's what I was used to. And
Yes.
then,
Same.
yeah, and there's strategy's a piece of it.
Hmm.
We all need strategy, but I really in the past 6 to 9 months have just felt the Lord saying that peace will be there.
Hmm.
And that's a gift that you have, from experience. But what people need to hear is more about me.
Hmm.
And there is a cultural mindset out there about what it means to work and to earn money. And our culture often, has that twisted.
Yes.
And just last night in my small group at church, we were talking about the purpose of money. And, money itself is not the root of evil, but if we let money have power over us, then that's where Satan starts to use it in a very evil way. And so God actually gave us the gift to earn money, to be in community and to interact with others, to help, provide for the needs of our family, provide for the needs of others. So the gift of earning money is actually a gift from the Lord. It's our culture that has really twisted that, and the enemy has really twisted that into a very negative thing when money starts to become our idol.
Yep. I I had this conversation, a very similar conversation
Yeah.
recently in one of the Bible studies that I'm in. And there's this discussion of, money and tracking revenue and tracking profits and in my mind, being a smart business owner who knows those
Mhm.
numbers and can use that to then adjust and make changes so that we can continue working, so we can continue earning and continue receiving that gift, right? But there is a very, very fine line that we can easily step over
Mhm.
where money becomes the thing, right? Like money becomes
Yes.
the thing we get focused on and we forget that that's actually the money's not actually ours. It's a gift from God that we are supposed to steward, and stewardship means to then multiply.
Yeah. So one of the things we were talking about last night was the concept of owner versus manager.
Yes.
And we're
Hmm.
actually not the owner. We're just managing the resources that God has given us. And we were mentioning the often you hear in churches when you talk about giving, let's give back to God,
Hmm.
a portion of our income.
Right.
That's actually false theology because we're not,
It's not
you
ours
know,
to begin with.
right. It's not ours to begin with. And so when you think of that concept of owner versus manager and the questions that were posed to us, how have you been acting as the owner of your money instead of the manager or being a good
Yes.
steward of what you've been loaned? And
Right.
it really is a mindset flip. And
Hmm.
so especially as business owners and as entrepreneurs, I realized that strategy is one thing, but really having a mindset and teaching women entrepreneurs the faith mindset and the biblical mindset
Hmm.
of being a Christian business owner and a Christian woman in the workplace.
Hmm.
Um, it is just countercultural principles because we are just infiltrated with so many lies about what that looks like. And so um really I just feel like the Lord has given me a purpose of saying, like, you need to share what the gift of work and the gift of earning money looks like, because it really is a beautiful gift
It really is.
when stewarded well.
And when we steward it well, our businesses can grow. And when our businesses can grow, because we have an income, we can hire other people, which then
Yes.
impacts that gets them into our circle and we can impact their lives, not only through their paychecks, but through our day-to-day practices, right? And
Yes.
so I think it, and I think while, you know, growth can become an idol and the money aspect can become an idol in our businesses, it's really important to take a step back and say, how can I make an impact with what God's given me in this business? And a few ways to do that is through people that we can hire and get into our circle, the giving that we can do into our community, the ways that we can impact the people that live around us,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what it's
Yeah.
meant for.
Yeah. And you never know who God is bringing into your circle of influence. I
Mhm.
often pray, even before I left corporate America, I would often pray over the customers that God would bring into my sphere of influence
Yep.
because it is so much bigger than making the sale or, getting them to purchase something when you put it into the perspective of going back to the owner versus manager,
Hmm.
and that God is the ultimate provider and he is sovereign
Hmm.
over your business and he is sovereign over all things. And he has a plan and a purpose, and he is going to bring people across your path that need to hear what you have to offer.
Hmm.
So it really takes trust and just a mindset shift.
I agree. I totally agree. Okay. Now, while we're on the money topic,
Hmm.
I want to talk about pricing because
Yeah.
you have it figured out. And I think a lot of us out here, especially women in business, we want at the root of what we're doing is we want to help people. And so when we want to help people, we then can feel some sort of way about charging for our services or for our products. We feel some sort of way about exchanging that help for income. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Yeah. So first I'll say, you may say I have it figured out, but I've made a lot of mistakes, right? So
All of it. Yes.
that's
Yes.
that's part of figuring it out.
Yes.
So, if you are listening in and you're saying, "Oh my goodness, like I'm struggling here." Sister, I feel you. Like I have
Hmm.
been there. And so I want to also call out, and I really hate to put a gender on this,
Sure.
but I don't know why it is that us as women tend to underprice
Yes,
for our products, but we do.
we do.
Because,
We
yeah,
do. Because
and
I could tell you that if my husband and I had the exact same product or service, he would charge two times what I would charge.
right,
And
right.
and it's I don't know what that is.
Yes. And I think some of it is how God naturally wired
Hmm.
us to be caretakers.
Yeah.
And so we feel like it's our job to just serve but I want to flip that first with scripture because
Hmm.
if
Let's do
you
it.
look at Proverbs 31, and we often see Proverbs 31 as the wife of noble character, right?
Yes.
But if
The perfect woman.
you're right, look at Proverbs 31 though, because what she is doing is she is taking her goods to the merchant.
Hmm.
She's selling
She
her.
has a business.
Right. She's selling what she is creating to others to make a profit to feed her family and
Yes.
to serve the poor, to provide
Yes.
for the needy. And so I think that is important
Ooh, I
because
just
she's
got
not
chills.
giving her things away. She's
Hmm.
not giving her things away. This is in scripture, guys. This is in scripture. And I often I teach product makers how to wholesale their products and get their products on retail shelves. And so when you see that she takes her goods to the merchant, that's actually wholesaling
Yes.
in scripture. So I always
And you're
laugh.
like, oh my gosh.
I'm like, there's wholesaling right there in the Bible. So
There it is.
I think it's important to see that,
Hmm.
and that when you see that outlined in scripture, it gives you freedom to say, I have a gift
Hmm.
and I can charge for this to make an income and provide for others. Now, there's a difference between hoarding
Yes.
and just, having a lot of wealth for the sake of wealth and making an impact and providing for yourself and for others, right? And so, all of that being said, from a pricing standpoint, I mean, 9 out of 10 of my female clients that I talk to are significantly undercharging because they're not doing market research
Hmm.
and they're not taking a look at their cost of goods sold, and they're just throwing spaghetti against a wall and saying, I think that this is what my market, like my target customer will pay.
Right.
I think.
Right. Oh gosh, girl. I mean,
Yeah.
I preach on this show more often than not. We've got to stop thinking and
Hmm.
feeling about what is happening, right? Like we need
Yes.
to look at actual data,
Right.
right? We need to figure out what's happening out there in the marketplace, and we need to actually look at what our costs are,
Hmm.
figure out what that pricing should be. And it's the same goes for sales and marketing activities. If something's working, we do that, not based on a feeling or a thinking. We have data to back it up
Yes.
versus just doing the things that we think are working because they feel easy and less friction,
Yes.
right?
So let's put the pen to the paper, whether, and I'm going to come at this from both a product and
Yeah,
a service or a
sure.
course standpoint for your listeners out there, depending on what kind of
Yeah.
business they run. So, from a product standpoint, I come at this from both a top down and a bottom up
Hmm.
perspective. From a top down perspective, I am looking at so let's say I'm going to, pull one of my candles because I, sell both products and services, right?
Hmm.
But, it cost me $1.92 to make one of these 4 ounce, travel tin candles.
Hmm.
And so now a lot of people,
But that's just your actual product. That's not including your time, right?
right,
Correct? Okay.
right. That's just my actual product. So not including my actual time now or labor or anything like that.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of people will tell you, okay, we'll double that, and that's your wholesale price. And then
Right.
double that, and that's
And that's
your
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 retail
retail
price.
price. Well, if I doubled that, I'd be selling it for under $4 wholesale and then $8 retail. Girl, my retail price on these is $15. I
Yeah.
would be leaving money on the table if I went by that. So what I did is I went out and did market research on a 4 ounce
Hmm.
candle, and they're going for anywhere from around $12 to $16. And so mine are priced right at $15.
Okay. Now I want to put a
Hmm.
pause right there.
Yeah,
When you say you went out, did you go online? Did you actually go to the stores? Like, what did you
both.
actually do for market research on this?
Both. Great
Okay.
question. I went to online
Hmm.
to some larger, well-known candle companies, and I looked at similar products in my market.
Right.
Now, if you go to like Diptyque, they're a
Hmm.
very high-end candle.
Sure.
They're not catering to the same market as me, but similar market candles.
Hmm.
And I looked online, but you better believe every time I walk in a gift boutique, if I'm out
Be
traveling or just
like,
out shopping, I'm gonna pick it up and look at it. I'm gonna see what the
yeah.
price every single time. I do that to this day, and I've had these priced, for a while because guess what? The economy changes, inflation happens. I need to make sure that I'm still priced appropriately.
Yep.
So I'm always evaluating that. And every 6 months, guess what? From a bottom down perspective, I'm evaluating my cost.
Hmm.
And so I take a look at every piece that goes into making this, from the wick stickers to the wicks to the labels to the warning label. I don't have a warning label in here, but the warning labels that go on the
Hmm.
bottom to the tins, the wax, the fragrance oil, and I reevaluate my cost. And if it's gone up a few pennies, okay, that's normal. So I'm always evaluating that. If it's gone up 50 cents,
Hmm.
I need to rethink, is it time for me to raise my pricing just a little bit? You
Right.
know?
Right.
So that's from a product base. Had I just taken the advice that's out there, I would have been leaving thousands upon thousands of dollars on the table
Yeah,
a year, a
right.
month, you know?
And but not only you leaving money on the table, your retailers would have been leaving money on the table.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
not only are you by structuring your pricing appropriately, you're not only impacting your business, but you're also impacting their business, and that's what we want to do as Christian business owners.
Yes. But let's also talk a little bit about buyer psychology.
Yes, let's do that. I love psychology.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Because when and this is something a lot of people don't think about if you haven't really studied it,
Mm,
but you see an 8 ounce or an $8 candle versus a $15 candle, or maybe it's jewelry or what have you. And I'm going to give you a specific example. But people often, when they see a lower price, they associate it with lower quality.
yeah.
So, this is a true story. When I was in grad school, we were doing a case study about boutiques out in like a town in Wyoming.
Hmm.
And they were a bunch of the boutiques in this town were selling turquoise jewelry. If you've ever been to a Western town,
Yep.
you see
They
them
all sell.
selling. Yep.
Yes.
And they could not compete. They kept on driving their prices lower because it's a race to the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Often that's what we do. And so they were on a call with a consultant about it and saying, what can we do to set ourselves apart? We cannot sell. We have thousands and thousands of dollars of this turquoise jewelry. How do we sell through this inventory? And he said one thing: raise your prices 10x what they are now. 10x.
Whoa.
They did. And they sold out in one weekend.
Okay.
If that is not a
Hmm.
testimony to
Hmm.
buyer psychology when it comes to pricing, because in a tour, especially a tourist town, they're looking at that and they're like, this is more expensive. It has to be better quality.
Yes.
And it's the same thing no
Even if
matter
it's
what
not.
product. Yeah. No matter what product that you're selling. Now, more goes into that because if you
Yeah, of
have bad
course.
bad branding or,
Yeah.
so that is such a reminder that the psychology of pricing. I also saw recently a Facebook post, and they had someone had written they had a couch sitting out on the curb that they had like $40 listed on it,
Hmm.
or no, it said free. They had
Yeah.
free written on it. Couldn't get
Couldn't get
anyone
it.
to
Yeah.
take it. Then they put $40 on it the next day, and it was stolen overnight. Once again, the
Yeah.
value of putting a price on
On
something,
it.
you know?
Well, and I also think in this translates over into the service world as well,
Yes.
especially for those of us who do courses and coaching and all of that. If there's no skin in the game for our customers, meaning we give it away for 15 bucks, I'm not saying like everything shouldn't be 15, like, right? But like if we give away something that's very high value for a very low cost, there's no skin in the game for our customers to
Hmm.
actually complete it. And what we want is the transformation that the service or education or coaching provides over time, right? And so
Yes.
if there's no skin in the game, they don't do it.
Yep. And I see often people will give things away for free
Hmm.
when it comes to service based. And so, how many things have you gotten for free in bundles or summits or just
Yeah,
lead generation things, and you never have any incentive to complete
right,
anything.
right.
And so what I would say from a pricing standpoint for courses or um, anything service based,
Hmm.
think about the transformation
Yep.
and the value that it brings your client.
Yeah,
And what would they pay someone to do that?
right.
What would they pay someone to do that? Or what would you pay someone to do that?
Hmm.
And then that is how you paint the return on investment for what you are teaching or providing
Hmm.
in that course or that service.
Right.
Because people will pay to have something done, like to save time or to not have to go figure it all out themselves. And the biggest thing that people pay, which is something that you don't think about very often because we always tout teaching, transformation. But the number one thing people pay for is to escape pain.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
They will pay to escape pain faster and pay more than to get pleasure.
Yes. So if you can articulate even more so instead of what they would pay someone to do something for them,
Hmm.
if you can articulate what their cost of inaction is,
Hmm.
that's even more powerful.
Right.
So that is just a helpful when you're thinking, how do I price a
Hmm.
service or a course? Not only are you doing some market research, right? But that's a little bit harder because your competition may have just put a price on it,
Right.
and just thrown spaghetti against a wall. But for you, you need to know and be confident in your pricing and be able to articulate that
Hmm.
to your customer because I have a wholesale course and I have some competition that sells a wholesale course at, you know, I want to say like a sixth of the price of mine,
Hmm.
but I know the value that mine brings and it still sells well,
Yeah.
you know? So
I love
it's
that.
it's articulating the value and the cost of inaction.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about the anxiety that pricing can produce
Mm-hmm.
and how do we confidently move forward with either raising our prices or setting or resetting them to an appropriate level.
Yes. So this is something I think that you learn in sales is
Hmm.
that it is one of those things that you're always going to have to learn how, and especially as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
learn how to fail fast
Yes.
and pivot
Yes.
and pivot fast. But part of being a successful entrepreneur and what sets the successful apart from those that don't make it is that they don't give up. And so if what they are doing is not resonating, then
Change it.
they tweak and they pivot and they put it back out there.
Yep.
And so if your pricing is not resonating, then it does not mean to once again just haphazardly throw something back out there.
Hmm.
Do some market research. And what this might look like practically is survey your audience. So if you launched a course and maybe you had, let's say you have an email list of 1,000 people
Hmm.
and you had 10 people buy, after that launch, then send an email to the people that didn't buy and offer them an incentive if they fill
Hmm.
out a survey
Hmm.
and ask maybe 2 to 3 simple questions about why they didn't purchase.
Yeah.
You will get a gold mine of information and it will only help you for your next launch. And so often people will say it's pricing,
That's a
but
smoke screen.
it's a smoke screen, but oftentimes it's something deeper. They weren't
Hmm.
ready for it. So I would be careful to immediately change your pricing. I would dig in a little bit deeper and understand, is it your sales copy? Is it you didn't communicate the value or the cost of inaction
Hmm.
as well as you could have? And then at the end of the day, so, there's 4 different types of buyers. They just may be one of those buyers that they're not ready for your product yet,
Hmm.
and they may
Hmm.
purchase next time.
Right. Right.
So,
I love that.
yeah.
Okay. To recap for my listeners here, We're going to do market research. We're going to figure out what our actual costs are, not what we think, not what we feel.
Hmm.
We're going to look at those two things. We're either going to go in stores and look at other products that are similar. We're going to poll our audiences. We're going to ask friends and family what they would pay for it. I mean, there's many, many ways you can do market research. But then we're also going to use some buyer psychology and understand that if we price it too low, it's going to be viewed as low quality.
Yes, absolutely. And
I
that's
love
so,
that.
so important to remember to, you can
Hmm.
always, and I'm not one that will say, price high and then run
Right.
a sale because you don't want to train your audience to wait
Mm,
on sales
the 50% off.
right
Right.
at all. But there's other ways that you can run promotions or something like that to test the waters without actually fully lowering your price.
Ooh,
Uh,
let's talk about promotions then. Let's talk about that
yes.
because okay, for product-based businesses, let's because we're going into the holiday season here, and this
Hmm.
episode will probably air just before Thanksgiving. Um, a little late to the game on the promo
Yeah,
situation, but
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're like, oh, I need to do a promo, let's talk about promos. Like,
Oh,
what does that look like in the product world?
and how many, because I guarantee you, if this is airing before Thanksgiving, you're going to have listeners out there that are going, oh, Black Friday, whoops. So, what I recommend is that, and I have been guilty of this, but don't just say, hey, 20% off of my shop. Do something that will increase your average order value. So, what that could look
Ooh,
like
okay,
is, it could mean spend a certain amount in my shop and get free shipping.
okay,
Or it could be buy two, get one X amount
25%
off.
off or
Yeah.
whatever. Right.
So that way, you're increasing your average order value, and someone that might only spend $20 is now going to be incentivized to spend $75.
Hmm.
And so that is a smart way to really bump up your sales. And you're still offering a promotion. And this goes back to buyer psychology every
Yes.
time, right?
Yes.
So don't just offer that 20% off. Just think of creative ways to
Hmm.
drive up the order value that people are actually spending in your shop. And don't be
Yes.
afraid to recommend products that bundle well together.
Yes.
People love that. If you have multiple products that go well together, curate the gift for them. I always
Mm.
say this, make doing business easy for
Hmm.
you, for your customers.
Hmm.
Curate the product, the gift for them, and tell them exactly why this is the perfect gift. And
And
then
who it's for.
and who it's for, and say don't just say the features. This is a soy candle with
Yes.
listen, no one really
No one
cares,
cares.
like tell them why this is going to create a cozy, relaxing home when you get home after walk in the door after a long day
Hmm.
of work. Like, doesn't that sound more like you
Gonna
know
make your Christmas tree look better because
yeah,
your home smells better,
yes.
right? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
So, or make some like these are my holiday humor collection. It says Wreck the Halls. I don't know
I
if,
love that.
yeah. Or I
That's
have
adorable.
like Resting Grinch Face, Naughty-ish. Like they're just funny
Cute.
names on there. So you could, just funny, you could just say stocking stuffer, humor, like just give a laugh this season.
Hmm.
So just make it easy for your customers to do
Yes.
business with you. And then, so build the bundle for them so they don't have to guess what to buy to get that free shipping or get that promotion that you're
Yes.
offering.
Okay. Now, I know that I've probably got a listener out there shaking their head right now and going, but I have products, but they're not giftable or like they're not something someone would gift. There are still promos that you can run, right? Like the holiday season isn't, people spend more at the holiday season for themselves than they do
Oh, yeah.
all year long all
Oh,
year long. And
yeah.
I'm guilty. I'm like 1,000,000% guilty of doing this. I'll be out shopping for my kids or for gifts for, whoever that I'm buying for. and I'll see something that I like, and I'm like, oh, I need that.
Yes. So don't underestimate that. And also don't forget January because
Yes.
you would just be shocked at how big the month of January is for
Mm-hmm.
retail.
Mm-hmm.
So still, do something that will drive people to come back in January. So maybe that is, some incentive that when they spend a certain amount, they
Mm-hmm.
get, um, a, a,
Coupon
a,
code
V-
for,
a VIP shopping pass for
yeah,
January or something.
yes, yes.
The loyalty is something that the loyalty play. So, the retention
Mm-hmm.
with customers is something that both in the service or, the service-based business and the product business that I see missed out on a lot
Yeah.
because it costs so much less to keep a
Yes.
customer
Mm-hmm.
than it does to acquire a new one.
Yes.
And so, really think of creative ways to get your customers that already know you, have already experienced your product or your course,
Mm-hmm.
and they're bought in on it to come back and buy something else.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, Andee, thank you so much for all of your wisdom in the product space, especially in the wholesale space. That is your jam, and that's what you teach women how to do. So, if someone is interested in learning how to um, better sell their products and or maybe even break into the wholesale market, how do they get in contact with you? Where do they go? All the places.
Yes. So this is my number one favorite resource that people grab. It's called my strategic wholesale planner. And even if you are not into wholesale yet, but you're a product-based business, you will love this because it is 12 months of tips on how to sell your products, how to market your products. And so Lindsay will have that, and you can grab that free resource, and you'll find tons of creative ideas on how to sell and market your products.
Yes, I will put the link to that freebie for y'all in the show notes. Um, do you have the web address that you can say out loud in case something in the internet land doesn't connect properly?
Yes, it is andeehart.com/strategic planner.
Perfect.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all of your wisdom in the product space. I mostly serve service-based businesses and B2B. So this was a fun conversation for me to learn a little more about the wholesale world and how to really price your products appropriately. So thank you
Yes.
so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. It was a blessing.
You're so welcome.
Thank you again for listening to another episode of How to Grow My Small Business. And thank you to Andee Hart for sharing all of her product sales wisdom in the wholesaling space on this podcast. She did want me to let you know that she said the wrong link in the guest interview just a few seconds ago. And the link to her strategic planner is andeehart.com/strategic planner. I will link that in the show notes so that you have the correct link. And if you would, if this episode was helpful to you, I would so appreciate it if you would stop and leave me a review. It'll take less than 10 seconds, hit the 5 stars, and then just a quick little, the podcast was great, or something like that. That would be so super helpful to me. And if this episode in particular was helpful, would you please share it with a friend? That helps me get the word out about this podcast, and it helps this show grow and for me to continue providing you with free content. So I would appreciate that so much. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next week. As always, I'm praying for you and I'm praying for your business.